A young man was simply relieving himself in a remote wilderness area when suddenly an electric current surged from the ground, causing a tingling sensation throughout his body. Since it felt rather pleasant, he didn't think much of the incident. However, just as he was about to turn and leave, he discovered that where he had just urinated, there was actually a tombstone. While he was puzzling over this, the tombstone suddenly emanated a red glow. The next moment, a beautiful woman appeared on the tombstone. She claimed to be a celestial empress who had lived for tens of thousands of years. The young man's urine was pure young essence, which had fallen upon her and helped her achieve transcendence. To thank him for his inadvertent assistance, the empress granted him 12 hours of reality-altering speech abilities. One would expect him to be grateful to the empress, but instead he assumed he'd encountered a ghost late at night and bolted away. After returning home, he was still shaken, terrified that encountering a ghost would bring him bad luck. Just then, his landlord stormed in aggressively, saying he was 7 days behind on rent and had to pay today or be kicked out immediately. Since he was just a low-level delivery driver, he was completely broke and couldn't afford the rent, so he casually asked the landlord if he could waive the 7 days of rent. Unexpectedly, upon hearing this, the landlord looked as if struck by lightning. Not only did he immediately waive the 7 days of rent, but he was incredibly happy about it. The young man was instantly stunned. He never would have imagined that such a stingy, ruthless landlord would actually agree to waive 7 days of rent. He immediately realized that what the empress said was true, seeing that he had been poor as a beggar for 30 years. A wicked thought immediately crossed his mind. How wonderful it would be if he could lie next to his college goddess right now. That would be amazing. He thought this couldn't possibly come true, since he had no idea where the goddess was at this moment. However, just as he was about to collapse into bed and sleep, he noticed his bed was not only softer than usual, but also smelled much better. When he snapped to attention and looked closely, the beautiful woman before him completely shocked him. The beauty was none other than his goddess, but she was utterly confused. How did he suddenly appear in her bed out of nowhere? Before the goddess could figure this out, she felt burning heat throughout her body, unable to control herself. She kept mumbling that she'd been poisoned, then threw herself at him, begging him to cure her. He immediately realized he had used the reality-altering ability again, so he prepared to sacrifice himself to cure the goddess. Afterward, he slept incredibly soundly, but when the goddess woke up, she was utterly shocked. Seeing that Junkai had slept with her all night, she immediately kicked him out of bed. Since this was his first time doing such a thing, he was terrified as well. To avoid trouble, he immediately tried to jump out the window. The goddess quickly stopped him, saying this was the 10th floor. Without thinking, he jumped anyway. By the time he realized his mistake, it was too late. Seeing he was about to fall to his death, he quickly shouted, "I want to go home." The next second, he crashed onto his own bed, successfully escaping disaster. However, the goddess was dumbfounded. He had just jumped from the 10th floor, yet there was no trace of him below. The goddess began to think everything that just happened was only a dream, but his jacket was still in her room. Just then, a college classmate called, inviting the goddess to a class reunion. The next day, he arrived at the college reunion. Since he was wearing his delivery uniform, all his classmates looked down on him. A snobbish female classmate even said he lived like a dog. Utterly embarrassing. This instantly enraged him. He immediately asked if the scheming